Sometimes the best stories in golf aren't found on tour. You'll find them at the back of the range. And here's your host, Ben Adelberg.
Thank you again for joining me here at the back of the range. I'm your host, Ben Adelberg. This is episode 50. 50 episodes. Wow, this year has absolutely flown by. It has been so much fun to share all of these stories and interviews with you. We are going to release 2 more episodes this year to make it an even 52 episodes for 2018. Then we're going to take a week off, enjoy some family time, relax a little bit, and then the first episode of season 2 here at the back of the range, we'll release it on our first anniversary. Yes, January 3rd, for all of you that are not keeping score at home. That was our first episode. Well, the first one of season 2, same date, January 3rd, so stay tuned for that. For those of you that follow us on social media, you probably know that we recently ran out of our custom logoed golf towels. We gave those away on Free Towel Tuesdays. Well, I can tell you that we are back up and running. We have some in stock. We're going to start giving those away again next year. If you want one right now and you're thinking stocking stuffer just like I am, well, I've decided to sell them to anyone interested in supporting the podcast and what we're trying to do around here. $25 gets you 2 of them. You got to buy 2 so you can keep one for yourself and then give the other one away. And just in case you're curious, all the proceeds go to us ordering more towels so we can get them into the hands of as many people as possible so that they can learn about this podcast. So the link to purchase these towels, they're in the show notes of the podcast. They're also at thebackoftherange.com. Look for the merch tab at the top of the screen. We are on Instagram at the Back of the Range Podcast. We're going to ramp up the content there a little bit. We're not just going to give you clips of the upcoming episodes, but information on future guests, past guests, and some of the upcoming travels that we're going to take in 2019. If you haven't followed us there, please do. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. All of the links that you need are available in the show notes of the podcast. And remember, thebackoftherange.com. That's where you can find everything. Our guest this week is Scott Stallings. Before becoming a 3-time winner on the PGA Tour, Scott was a 2-time Ohio Valley Conference Player of the Year as a Golden Eagle at Tennessee Tech University. Scott picked up his first win in 2011 at the Greenbriar. His reaction to the winning birdie putt on the first extra hole is probably what sticks out in everyone's mind when they think of Scott. He backed up that win in 2012 at the True South. He won again in 2014 at the Farmers Insurance Open. Scott has battled health issues, but with the help of a new fitness program, he is in the best shape of his life as he enters his 9th season on the PGA Tour. We had a fun conversation about his beloved Red Sox, his early days on tour, his second home at Whisper Rock out in Arizona. Scott was candid. He shared some great stories, and that's what we really like around here at the Back of the Range. He is transparent, funny, and I think you'll enjoy this episode immensely. So, Scott, I thank you so much for your time. I know you're enjoying the offseason, so I really appreciate you joining us here at the Back of the Range. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate y'all having me on.
No, absolutely. This is great. I know you're in the off season. You're not in Tennessee at your main location, so you're out in Arizona. What is the weather like out in Arizona right now while everyone else is freezing? What are you dealing with out there?
Dealing with a lot of sun and some just not a lot to complain about weather-wise.
Nice. Well, we started kind of texting back and forth last month, and I'm glad we can kind of get together, but let's get some serious hard-hitting topics out of the way. I don't want to, sugarcoat anything, but when we started talking, it was World Series time. You are a rabid, massive Red Sox fan. Has your job ever, or has your Red Sox fandom ever got in the way of your job?
Maybe a little bit. My rookie year, I was born just outside of Boston, and all my mom's family is from New England, and so we spent a bunch of time up there as kids. And so an opportunity to go to a Red Sox game was, any opportunity we could, we did. So I remember my rookie year, they played a 4-game series against the Yankees, and I convinced my wife we need to stay downtown. We didn't need to stay out by the golf course, and it's about a 45-minute drive easy to get out there. But I wanted to stay right by Fenway, go to all the games, and be able to take it all in. And I would say that. But also this year I was playing Sanderson Farms, and they were getting ready to go out to LA.
Yeah.
And if they would have made it to that, the final game or whatever, I would have, if I had missed the cut, I was going to go to the games in LA. I told my wife, I was like, we're playing Vegas the next week. Very fortunate enough to become friends with some people in the Red Sox organization. And I kind of sent some text out. I was like, hey, if I don't play well this week, expect to get a call from me Friday night.
Nice.
Because I'm coming out. But I played halfway decent. I made the cut. And it was nice to be able to watch it. We had a house we rented, and we all kind of stayed together and able to watch the game. And it was nice to see them win, and especially as incredible season they all had, especially with the new manager and super young team. And, excited to see some Tennessee guys, David Price, Mookie Betts, and I've become a huge Steve Pearce fan.
Well, who hasn't? I mean, that guy just fell into. I mean, that's incredible. I think he's played. I think that's he's played for every single team in the AL East.
Yes. So everyone talks about, he knows all the trade secrets and so on and so forth. But obviously, it's crazy with their lineup, the way they kind of shift them in and out like that. Brock Holt hit for the cycle and then didn't start another game.
Yeah. That's
so it's just kind of wild to see how they move it in and out there. But I mean, incredible team to watch, and be excited to see what they do moving forward.
Yeah, well, I think they're set up pretty well, and I think that's so. Let me see. Alex Cora is their manager, correct?
Yes, first year, and it was bizarre. He didn't win Manager of the Year. He was Manager of the Year in all the Red Sox fans' eyes.
Oh well, he's got a trophy he can look at, so I think he's going to do okay. Yeah. And I'm sure the paychecks aren't going to stop coming in for the Red Sox organization. He'll get taken care of. Man, this podcast is really turning into a baseball podcast because our guest this week, we're recording this the day after I released the episode with Brett Saberhagen, so we're really transitioning into baseball around here, which is totally fine. So we'll talk.
Hey, you never know what's going to happen on the range, man.
Hey, there you go. So, so speaking of your start in golf, we're going to do a little bit about your start in golf before we just start completely going off the rails and asking random questions. But you grew up in Tennessee. You're a two-time, Ohio Valley Conference Player of the Year. You went to Tennessee Tech. We have a lot of players, juniors, parents of juniors that listen to the podcast, and it's always fascinating to listen and determine or discover the start of professionals, whether it's, hey, I grew up at a country club and I was just kind of groomed that way, or grinding out of the mini tours. What can you tell me about Tennessee Tech? How did you get there? What was your college career like? And, when did it become apparent that, hey, I was going to try and play professionally?
So, I mean, Tennessee Tech was kind of the last place in the world I ever thought I was going to go.
Okay.
I had some halfway decent offers for some bigger schools, but to be honest, I kind of had my hopes and dreams on going to the University of Tennessee. And, truly when it kind of came down to it, it was between me and a few of the guys. And I'd kind of told everyone else no, that I felt pretty confident that I was going to end up going there. And ended up not getting an offer, and I kind of put all my eggs in one basket, unfortunately. And when it kind of came down to it, I was left high and dry. I originally committed to go to University of Tennessee at Chattanooga.
Okay.
And almost like the 11th hour phone call, a guy I knew that was on the Tennessee Tech team just said, "Hey man, before you make your final decision," he said, "why don't you come down here and hang out with us for a day?" And I went down there, met the guys, but ended up going down there, hanging out with the guys for a day or so, and playing golf and doing that. And I mean, truly some of my best friends in the world. We don't see each other as much as we probably like. We all have families and moved on in different parts of our lives, but we try to catch up as much as we possibly can. And truly is the last place in the world I ever thought I was going to be. But after being there, I truly, I couldn't imagine them having a better experience. Man, I had a bunch of good dudes on my team, and guys that like I said, consider friends to this day. And we had an old school coach. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago, but he played the tour and was a club pro, and definitely kind of had seen all sides of golf. And
sure,
he was a good old country boy. And I mean, there's a bunch of life lessons that some probably need to be never shared, and some should be shared every day.
There you go.
So, but
Yeah.
Our facilities weren't awesome. The courses we played weren't great. But man, the guys on the team is what made it what the experience it was. And, definitely, I tell a lot of people, don't waste your time in college away. Because I feel very blessed and fortunate to be able to play on tour. And if I had an opportunity to go tee it up with my buddies a couple more times in college, I would definitely take them up on it.
Let's go a little bit off the path here. So if you got to grab your buddies and go on a golf trip, I know that's probably, I don't know, is that the last thing you really want to do on a vacation? Do you want to grab buddies and go on a golf trip, or have you basically seen everything golf related that you can think of?
We actually have a friend of ours that's getting ready to turn 40, and we're going up to, he turns 40 in 2 years. So we're already working on his 40th birthday. We're going to go up and play all the big five up, or like Shinnecock, all up in, the Hamptons and stuff like that. I think we're doing Shinnecock, Maidstone, National, Friars Head, and Sabonic. So we're going to fly up on like Thursday, 36-18, fly home Sunday. And that's kind of what he wants to do for his birthday. So it's pretty cool, with the relationships you get on tour and being able to, obviously that's something that, takes a lot of groundwork to be able to figure it all out. But we're definitely looking forward to, we've definitely had a lot of people reach out, and I was fortunate to play in the Open at Shinnecock this year and was able to meet a bunch of people up there, and just kind of told them, hey, we'd love to try to figure it out. And it's like, oh, when is it? It's like, oh, it's 2 years. Oh, we got plenty of time. So
yeah, I'm assuming this isn't getting booked on Expedia.com, right? Yeah, this is
no, it's not.
Okay, all right. Because if there's a button I'm not clicking on Expedia, I need to figure out what that button is so I can set up a trip like that. So, well, that's great that you're doing a golf trip. What kind of strokes do you anticipate having to give your friends? I mean, what is it like when you play at your home club and you go teed up with some buddies? I mean, how out of whack does that get?
I don't know. It depends. I mean, when I'm in Tennessee, I play a lot with them, and there's always some sort of game or something like that. In Arizona, it's a little bit different. I mean, the course that I belong at, Whisper Rock, there's a lot of really, really, really good players, and so the shots aren't really as free flowing as they are maybe back east, but. It all kind of depends. I got some of my college buddies that they like to relive the glory days, I guess. But there's some I enjoy getting out there with them. It kind of gives a fresh perspective on truly how blessed I am to be able to do what I do for a living, and kind of reminds me of when I was back playing with them, like how much that I dreamed about waking up every single day and pursuing a career in golf. And
sure.
That's something that I enjoy that time with them. It's not super serious. There's a lot of hard times being given, and
go ahead. I'm just laughing because I'm just thinking to myself, your buddies from Tennessee playing with the tour star. I think they're just giving you a bunch of crap, and you just got to sit there and take it. I mean, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, we went on a golf trip kind of right before the end of the season. I went with a couple friends of mine to a place that I play in North Carolina, and we were up there, and my buddy had, just had his third kid, and hadn't really been playing, and so on and so forth, and he's all giddy to go, and he's ready to play sun up to sundown, and we play 18 holes, and we get done, and he's like, all right, man, we're ready to go. It's like, no, we're not ready to go. And he's like, wow, man, I thought we were going to play golf all day. He's like, well, after what I saw from the way you played today, we need to take a time out and go figure this out. Because if you're going to play golf for the next 3 days, you can't go play like that again.
Oh,
and
man.
So we all got up on the range, and we all had to come to Jesus on how we could fix his game for the next 2 days, so he could actually enjoy himself.
That sounds like an intervention. I mean,
we that basically is what we had.
Oh wow, that's well, only friends can do that to friends, but
oh, for sure.
That's
and
awesome.
He just died laughing. He's like, all right, let's go do it. And he's like, you're right, that was awful. I'm sorry y'all had to watch that.
Shit.
So we got him sorted out, and he played pretty good the next couple of days. But I mean, the times like that, watching one of your buddies that used to practice and play all the time and literally hadn't hit a range ball in years, and to actually get him out there when he's trying to work on his game is pretty comical.
That's awesome.
So,
that's so awesome. You mentioned Whisper Rock. I don't want to let that go. There's a lot of kind of central hubs for the guys on tour. I know, I'm down in South Florida, so Jupiter's a big one, and all those Texas guys are kind of staying together. But, Whisper Rock, I don't know tons about it other than the random stories about Phil out there. And then I know McCord and Costas are bopping around over there. How did you kind of settle into Whisper Rock? What's kind of the culture out there?
I mean, it's, definitely, no one really cares what you do for a living. It's a really unique place. I had an opportunity. I made it right before we got my son to be 6 in February. And we visited a bunch of different places. I mean, the weather in Tennessee can be very unpredictable.
Sure.
Like, last week it was in the 70s, and I think the high yesterday was in like 20s. I mean, so, 50 degrees in a week, and which is not uncommon for Tennessee this time of year. And I mean, you can wear shorts and watch it snow the next day.
Oh yeah.
So we wanted to visit. We visited everywhere, South Florida, Sea Island, Texas, Palm Springs, and I had a couple buddies of mine, Kevin Strillman and Aaron Badley, that were members at Whisper Rock, and they took me out to play one day. And I called my wife from, leaving the course, and I said, I think we need to come to Scottsdale. And so we came out later that year, and we've considered our second home for 6 years now. It's been awesome.
And I would imagine just having a couple of the tour guys out there, it makes it easier to stay on task when you're kind of home and practicing, getting ready for the upcoming season. Are your off weeks pretty regimented, or is it just kind of a chance to unplug and relax?
Yeah, it just kind of depends. I mean, obviously with young kids, and my son will be 6 in February, my daughter will be 3 in March, and
you're the least important person there, aren't you?
And there's no doubt. My 3-year-old is showing us that every single day. But Whisper Rock's a great place. I mean, it's got enough space to where you can go, and it's a really cool club to be involved in, and a bunch of good guys out there. The games are not like out of hand like people think. Very respectable. Very respectable, but I think more it works on your mental game, because if you do something silly or dumb on TV and you got to walk in that men's grill after a bad swing or something you did the day before on TV, you better be ready. You better have your helmet on, because they're going to come out swinging. So I mean, that's the beauty of the place, and it's been a real cool spot to be a part of.
Would you say, and I'm just curious, but you mentioned everyone thinks that you guys are playing for thousands of dollars in your money games, but it's probably not the money. You just want to be able to hold stuff over their heads and give them shit in the grill room, don't you?
Yeah, actually, I have a guy that we play a lot of golf with, and he's a very questionable, probably 5 or 6 handicap.
I hate those people.
And he has a standard bet with all the guys that he plays, and I mean, he's made more money than I'll ever make in my career, and no telling what kind of money I've taken off of him in our matches together. But if I've ever lost, he asks you to sign the money, and he's got, I mean, no telling what he's got stuff in his locker up there. But
oh my gosh,
it's just a funny guy, and that's kind of his way of going. And it's I think the first time I lost to him, I lost like, I don't know, $20 or something like that. Yeah. He's like, I need you to sign that. It's like, excuse me? And it's like, yeah, it's kind of what I do every time I was like, well, man, I think I took like $200 from you last week. He's like, that doesn't care. I beat you today. I don't care about that.
That's kind of what I do.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That guy's got some stones. Actually, that guy would be great for the podcast. So if you want to pass my card along to him, that guy's got some stories.
Yeah, he's a great short game specialist too. So you just you go out to Whisper Rock and ask who has the best short game out there, and he can show you some things you may never want to see again in your life.
All right, well, I'm going to call the pro shop as soon as we're done here and get this guy's name. But man, it's I have not been out to Arizona for some golf. I do need to get that taken care of. I've been all over the place, but haven't made out there yet. So got to check that place out. Let's get into some stuff that's a little bit off topic. I have to ask you about this ridiculous physical transformation that you have made. I have to ask you about this transformation. You have gone crazy with CrossFit. And, when I think of CrossFit, I don't think of golf, or when I think of CrossFit, I look at ways that I'm going to hurt myself. How did you get into that? And what was the reaction of your people around you when you're like, I'm going to start doing CrossFit?
Yeah, I mean, CrossFit definitely gets a bad rap as far as, if the only golf that everyone that was capable of playing was the PGA Tour, no one would ever play. If you were started to play golf and, you see one of us shoot a bad round on tour and we shoot, 73 or 74, some people, I mean, they'll never come close to that in their life. So, I mean, that's the beauty of the game. Anyone at any skill level can play it. And, training and, physical fitness and stuff like that's the same way. I mean, if you only look at that top upper echelon, there's a lot of things that are very unattainable and, truly just not practical for just your normal everyday person, trying to compete. But those people are professionals.
Sure.
I've been fortunate enough to get a chance to train with them a lot, learn from them, learn what to do, what not to do. And, but truly it was, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago or something like that. And I'd really started going through some health problems and so on and so forth. And, a guy I went to college with, kind of reached out to me, and, we had some mutual friends and started trying to train together. And he's, huge into CrossFit, and, started just kind of teaching me about it. Hey, you should think about doing this, think about doing that. And, trying to how to adapt, kind of a higher intensity mentality into, shorter time periods and so on and so forth, which is nice for me because I would say I don't have the attention span for golf. I mean, golf takes a lot out of me in terms of, I wouldn't necessarily say like an ADD kind of thing, but I'm not overly patient.
Okay.
And so I feel like I take all my time and attention, especially during tournament golf, to make sure I'm attentive to what I'm doing and so on and so forth. So the last thing I want to do when I get off the course is, have some like mindless, whatever, super slow.
Something monotonous.
Yeah, and there's a time and a place for that. I mean, my mobility is very important to me, and the ability to be able to, move well, and especially the course of how long our season is. But, when I get a chance to get after it, I definitely want to take advantage of it. And there's a way to kind of periodize that in terms of, when your strength training is and so on and so forth. And, but I've been very fortunate to learn from some of the best in the world. And, obviously, a friend of mine that I mentioned helped me a lot, and just had a chance to ask questions to people that literally do it for a living. And
so the professionals that are doing CrossFit, if they are scratch, what would be your handicap in CrossFit? Because I'm just curious.
Like a 30. I don't know.
Okay.
I never try to. I mean, I'd say my cardio and like capacity for like longer, more like grueling kind of workouts are probably better. But like my like just straight static lifting is pretty good, but any kind of complex lifting, barbell and stuff like that, is not just, it's hard to maintain the strength throughout the year. I mean, if I can maintain some type of, 75, 80% throughout the season, and then work my, 6-8 week off season that you get, and try to push it back up a little bit. The problem is our season is just so long. So you can't necessarily have a true strength cycle. But with all the health stuff I had, I kind of trained through all that. So once my body started kind of catching up and, kind of fixing itself, I guess, I was able to, like my VO2 max, all your, lactate threshold, all these things that you never would think about of a golfer. It's amazing, like how it affects like just your overall body performance through the course of, I mean, we have 49 events. Obviously no one plays that many, but, I mean, you're talking about a golf season that's the same length as a NASCAR. Us and NASCAR have the same, very similar length of season.
Wow.
And just, I was a person that I took my body for granted. I thought I was going to be able to do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. And, it was kind of, how I treated it in terms of, what I put in it, how I slept, how I traveled, all these things. Like I never really thought about it. I thought I was going to be 25 and be able to do whatever I wanted. And next thing you know, I was in a bunch of doctor's offices and 29 years old. And my wife had a higher testosterone than I did.
Oh, wow.
And obviously everyone looks at those numbers and stuff like that as far as like a tell-all, but those are all symptoms. I mean, those aren't causes.
Yeah.
And I had a bunch of problems with my sleep. I had this major surgery in my sinus cavity to kind of address some sleeping issues. And it kind of, once all that started to rectify, it's amazing to start to see how your body, transform once you do the things necessary to, to fuel it properly, recover properly, and be able to train the way to kind of optimize throughout the whole year.
Well, the reason I ask you about your handicap is not to ask you to kind of rate yourself with your skill with CrossFit, but I was kind of illuminating the fact that you consider yourself a 30 handicap in CrossFit and have made such just amazing strides with your physical performance. You don't need to do all of the crazy stuff that people see on TV when they automatically attribute, handstands or throwing tires all over the place. You don't have to do all that stuff, I'm assuming, to really see the benefits of CrossFit.
No, yeah, I mean, and definitely, there's so many, body weight workouts and, constantly changing, their biggest thing in CrossFit is constantly varied. And I would say that I definitely follow along that. I'd say my training cycles, week in, week out in terms of tournaments and so on and so forth are very similar. I try to get as much of the lifting out of the way earlier in the week. And, the earlier in the week, the training style is longer, slower, heavier. And as the week progresses more towards the tournament, it's shorter, faster, and lighter with emphasis on rotation and, good flexibility. And, there's always, I got to be flexible. You got to be mobile.
Sure.
I just want to move well. And I'm 33 years old. I've been fortunate to be on tour for 9 years now. And I feel better at 23 or at 33 than I did at 23.
Well, listening to you right now, I really want to go get a cocktail and a donut. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, there's times for that too, man.
Yeah. I made this dumb decision to quit drinking for the last month, and I'm sleeping pretty damn good, but it's not as much fun, I will tell you. So, you mentioned being on tour for 9 years, and you've won multiple times. I've spoken to people where they thought that was going to be their path and they were going to try and play professionally, but they got out there and, other than maybe not having the scores to get it done, one of the things they realized is just the life and all the travel just wasn't for them. They were just lonely. They wanted people around and they just didn't want to jump from hotel to hotel. Now, I know you have a great family and 2 young kids, but how do you kind of set your mind right into accepting the trials and tribulations of the job and still succeeding?
Yeah, extreme patience, which, like I said earlier, is not one of my strong suits. But I think I have a pretty good perspective in terms of, obviously, I don't want to keep going back to, some health issues, but truly, that was a life-changing moment for my family, for my marriage, for my career, and so on and so forth. So I think when you kind of get to the point of, not to be melodramatic, but the game was taken away from me. Yeah. You're sitting in some pretty serious doctor's offices, talking about like life expectancy and stuff like that. Not like, oh, when am I going to be able to play again? No, like, hey man, if you don't take care of this, like you're going to have a serious problem, like in not an overly long amount of time. Wow. And so I feel like my perspective in terms of the ebbs and flows of good play and bad play, I kind of take it, I'd say the peaks and valleys aren't as high, but they're, the peaks are definitely celebrated and the lows are kind of endured a little bit better. Because, you're going to have them. And I told a guy the other day, I said, man, just accept the fact that this game owes you absolutely nothing. Yep. And it's a beautiful game. It's one of the best games in the world. And truly, I couldn't imagine doing anything. I've wanted to do this since I was a little kid. But truly, when you go out there, not expecting like, failure or something like that, but just going out there knowing I'm going to put my best foot forward. And, I'm truly going to accept the consequences and try to do better the next time. And I think so many, especially on the tour level, the idea of this like perfection is just so, if you follow us around and you see guys play like, oh man, a tour player hits every shot perfect and they never miss a putt and they never do that. You follow us around for 4 days. You're like, man, he hit it terrible. And then you start looking at it, it's like, well, man, he shot, 3 under. The misses just aren't quite as bad. The short game's just a little bit better. And, when they get an opportunity to kind of put the hammer down as far as a good round, and they can definitely take it, the tour professional can take it a little bit lower. And that's truly the difference is. And, I tell everyone every single day, like, what's my mindset is, like, I try to get better, just a little bit better every day.
Yeah.
Try to make my mind better, try to make my body better, try to make my game better. And, all with that mentality knows that you trust the process that kind of goes into it. I mean, Charles Howell just won again after the first time in what seems like forever.
I know.
And awesome dude, great storyteller, incredible career, and pretty cool to see how he just kind of trusted the process along. And he had countless chances to win, but he never faltered, never got down on himself, and just continually put himself in that situation. And it's nice to see it pay off there at the end of the season. And, no telling what he's going to be capable of now.
Oh, I know. Yeah, big fans of his. We had Alan Bratton on as coach earlier, or an Oklahoma State coach earlier on the year, and yeah, big fans of his. You mentioned just staying on tour and just grinding it out, and not everyone hits all these perfect shots all the time. I just keep, every time I see these guys go through Webb or go through Q School or mini tours, I mean, it's just so hard to get onto the PGA Tour. Do you look at some of these guys on the web and just say to yourself, gosh, how are they not out here? And look how hard it is just to get there. I'm reading stuff where guys are shooting 14, 15 under in a four round Q School and not getting through.
Yeah, I saw that. That was bizarre. It was like 16 under it took to get through to get to final stage of web.com.
Yeah.
I mean, the shift is, there used to be a significant difference in terms of, from like a mini tour to a web and web to PGA Tour and so on and so forth. The games are a lot different. The web tour to the PGA Tour is a little bit different, but the talent level is if there's a difference, it's very small. It's just a matter of how guys deal with just everything else that deals with playing on tour, from just the size of an event to, the people that are there and so on and so forth. My rookie year, I missed my first 5 cuts, and it had nothing to do with playing. It had everything to do with just managing my time. Like, I was so excited to be out there. Next thing you know, it's like, oh crap, it's Thursday. Like, I don't know if I've practiced my putting yet. Just got so taken up in the fact that I was there. And it was, the time and attention to detail it takes to kind of get into a routine out there is, all that stuff takes a lot to get used to. And I think that's where you see the guys' big difference. But obviously now with the way that web.com tour and all that stuff is set up as far as how to get on tour is a lot different than it was when I got on tour.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have as much volatility year in, year out, which I don't know if necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, but it is what it is. And, like I said, I feel very fortunate to be out there, but I've got some friends of mine that don't even play golf anymore that I watch them hit shots and like, man, how in the world is this guy like not playing beside me every single week?
Right.
And just amazing. Like, I've got friends of mine that just like, man, it's just not worth it to me. I want to be home with my family. I want to do this. I want to do that. And, but just like you said, it's funny to see some of the guys that get out there and, I've chased it, I've achieved it. And now like, I'm ready to go do something else. And, either, the game passes you by or, your game kind of lets you down a little bit, or, it's amazing how many guys just take a step away. And, I don't know, it'd be interesting to see the change in golf over the next 5 or 10 years, unless the Champions Tour age changes or something like that. Just
right.
Golf is getting so young. Now I'm 33 and I'm old.
Well, you're right. I think they were kind of alluding to that with this year's Ryder Cup team, or just kind of saying, the next 10, 12 years, the Ryder Cup team for the U.S. is just going to look a lot different because, guys like, it's starting to already happen, but, Tiger and Phil and Furyk and Stricker and kind of those guys are going to kind of move on. I have just tons of different directions I want to go in. So you mentioned your first 5 tournaments as a member of the PGA Tour. You missed the cut because you weren't managing your time, or you just kind of felt a little bit, kind of eyes wide open with everything that's going around you. So I don't think it's a big earth-shattering breaking news story, but you guys don't have to worry a whole lot about equipment and apparel and getting, fresh grips and things like that. Is there anything, I know you're a veteran on the tour now, but is there anything gear related that really gets your attention where you're kind of like a kid in a candy store and you're like, man, this is so cool. We get this stuff for free.
The Scotty Cameron place still,
Still,
I mean, I would necessarily, like, I give some to my friend, not necessarily Scotty Cameron, but like my equipment that I don't use anymore, so on and so forth, or, you know, I've moved on to a newer version or so on and so forth. Like, there's no telling how many Vokey wedges are all over the state of Tennessee to either, you know,
has an SS on it.
Yeah, kids, you know, in my neighborhood or, you know, buddies of mine or so on and so forth. But, you know, Cameron's the only thing that I necessarily like. I treat those differently, and obviously it's more like art.
Yeah.
And I had a chance to meet Scotty a few times and to meet, you know, basically the guy that runs the show over there, does all the fittings and everything. His name's Paul, and pretty incredible to kind of see just that whole process of kind of how they. I mean, it's true art. I mean, it's obviously the most important club in our bag, and to be able to kind of see and how they just like little subtle changes to how it looks and so on and so forth. And you're fortunate enough to be in there, and Scotty's in there, and it's crazy. I was there probably about a year ago, and I was working with Paul on something, and Scotty came in his office, and he's like, "Oh, what are we working on?" And grabbed my putter. He's like, "Oh, hold, I'll be right back." And brought my putter back like 30 minutes later, and he did exactly what we were talking about and knew nothing of what our conversation was.
Oh my God.
He's like, all right, I'll be right back. And he brought it back, and we were kind of changing like a little bit of the sight line and just kind of how the putter head was shaped and so on and so forth. And he brought it back. It's like, all right, man, this is why this guy's name's all over the clubs.
Yeah, it's like pretty much. Well, that's good to hear that that a tour guy still gets a little giddy over gear, because, you know, I'm the guy that goes to a you know, plays an amateur tournament, and you go to the range and they have like Pro V1s out there, and you're like, wow, you know, you're just kind of blown away by that. But you're probably moved on past that. We mentioned, let's see. All right, I didn't ask you this. I'm sure people have already asked you this, but I got to ask you, what do you think about the match with Tiger and Phil?
I think it's very uncommon to see people of that caliber miss that many short putts that many times in a row. So I feel like they got what they needed. They wanted them to get to 18 and extra holes. I thought obviously it would have been cool to see like they did at the old school, like Ballot Bighorn or whatever, where they lit up the last few holes, but they didn't have to worry about hitting it off the putting green and so on and so forth. But it was good, man. Got people talking about golf, and, you know, whether people thought it was rigged or, you know, or whatever. I mean, you know, two of the golf's greatest players of all time, and, you know, people that if you're in the world of golf, you should walk up there and shake their hand, because they've paved the way for what it is now. And I'm definitely one of those people as well that are very appreciative of what Tiger and Phil have done for the game and for the tour. And, you know, if they want to go out there and hit it off the putting green for $9 million, man, have at it. But I just thought, you know, the way that it was executed probably could have been handled a little bit better, but, you know, pretty exciting to see, you know, day after Thanksgiving, people are talking about golf, especially with everything else in sports that's going on right now. And, you know, hopefully they'll get an opportunity to carry it on and maybe improve what it was from there.
Yeah. I was thinking this same thing. I didn't want to go that direction, but I was thinking, that just, it's too convenient that thing ended up with that little playoff under the lights. And, yeah, I was thinking that same thing.
You're telling me if it's to win, you know, I don't know. We don't play any majors that have match play, but, you know, there was some huge Ryder Cup match, and Tiger's got a guy that's got a 4-footer to have him on 18, and Tiger's going to give it to him. Like, no chance.
I was watching it with some friends, and you're talking about the one. So you're talking about the concession he made on 18 in regulation. Yes. And I saw that, and I actually just jumped out of my chair and just yelled. I was like, what? And my friends were like, what are you talking about? I'm like, that putt is like, come on, man. That's not a. So, and then Phil, you know, did the favor back to him on the other one. So like, I don't want to win like this, but yeah, trying to make a 4-footer on bumpy greens in the middle of the night and in darkness. I don't know why they didn't start that thing earlier. See, that's a question I have. There's no network obligations. There's no sponsors, because you do whatever you want to. It's a private course. It's not like it's not like a CBS thing where they got, you know, the local news in 60 minutes on, you know, ready to come on afterwards. You could have started that thing anytime you wanted to.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole just kind of thing was bizarre, but I mean, just like I said, man.
Oh no, it's great.
Golf,
I know, it's great.
I mean, it's almost December, and but it'll be interesting to see how they change it moving forward.
Oh yeah. I think you mentioned someplace that the Memorial is one of your favorite tournaments you play in the PGA Tour. How do you manage your expectations in majors or in tournaments that you maybe really, really like, where you can just kind of treat it like a regular event? Because there's a lot of people that play golf where, whether it's their club championship or something with a buddy, they get it all worked up in their minds and they can't perform. So how do you deal with those challenges?
I mean, there's still, 18 holes, and you kind of got to deal with it from the first tee to the last green. And not that you try to downplay it at all, but I mean, you break it into the fact that, all right, I got to hit this ball in the fairway. All right, I got to get this ball somewhere up around the green, and then, kind of take it from there. And, when I've played my best golf, I've done that better than other times in my career, where you kind of get caught up into, oh, well, I'm in this place if I make a birdie, or I'm, I so on and so forth, where the kind of situation dictates, your thoughts and feelings towards the certain shot or whatever, instead of, hey man, this is the same shot that it was 2 or 3 days ago. It's just, I got to get it up there. And the better you can kind of deal with that, the easier it is, but also learn how to, manage the emotion and stuff, and understanding that under the gun, it's amazing how far the ball goes.
Oh yeah.
And kind of how to account for that, and so on and so forth. And, but yeah, Memorial's my favorite. I had a really cool, interaction with Jack on the Sunday before the event.
Oh, please share that.
I just played the course for the first time. I'd missed the cut at Colonial, and I just played the golf course. I was eating dinner, watching the end of the tournament at Colonial, and a guy walked in and asked who was winning, and I didn't turn around. I just kind of was watching, mentioned who was winning the tournament. And voice got a little closer and said, how's so-and-so doing? And I said, I don't know. And I turned around, and he's standing right behind me. He's completely covered in dirt. He's wearing like gym clothes. I think he's wearing like a master shirt or some kind of shirt from maybe like, I don't know, the 80s. I mean, it was tired and just covered his whole body in dirt. And he was trying set with me for about 30 minutes. And I said, sir, kind of explain to me what's happened here. Why are you so dirty? And he said, well, man, we're changing some of the holes, and they were doing something to 17 that year. And he said, man, we had a problem with one of the bunkers, and I just had to get out there and help the guys. And I had to come back here and clean up. I'm a mess.
How awesome is that? Just
pretty cool to see the guy that's his course, and, comes in to, grab something to drink, and, take a little break or this and that. And he's just completely covered in dirt. He's out there doing something on the golf course. It was pretty awesome.
That's fantastic. You mentioned your wedges and your love of all things Vokey. Let's see. So would you rather play a tournament without golf tees or without wedges?
Oh, without golf tees for sure.
Okay. All right.
Not even like, it would take a lot to give up the wedges. They make a big difference, man.
Okay. Let's see. Would you rather rewrite the ending of Tin Cup so that Roy McIlroy wins the U.S. Open, or completely eliminate the existence of Caddyshack 2?
I don't know. I like when Roy gets up there and keeps sending it on the green.
Okay.
Like, but I mean, Caddyshack 2 is abomination.
So that's not really an answer, Scott. I mean, you got.
No, I would rather get rid of Caddyshack 2.
Oh, okay. There you go. Let's see. This is gonna be a tough one here. Would you rather win the PGA Championship or play on 2 losing Ryder Cup teams?
Win a major.
Okay. See, that is actually the right answer, because if you win the major, it's probably going to get you onto the Ryder Cup team that year or the following year. Would you rather play Blades for the rest of your life or Persimmon Woods for the rest of your life?
Blades.
What's the one thing that you, if you forget to bring with you when you're traveling, if you forget to bring it, what is that one thing that you absolutely have to replace as soon as you get to your destination?
I'm not great with a razor, and I'm not particularly great with, I'd say definitely a razor I'm the worst with, and a toothbrush. Like, I leave them at hotels a lot.
Okay.
So I'd say between those two are the ones I'm not awesome with.
You do a lot of traveling for your job. You're staying in hotels. You're catching flights all over the country, all over the world. What are some of your pet peeves when you're on the road and traveling?
No, those people that like to stand in the airplane line like 30 minutes before you're supposed to get on. Like, what are we doing, people? especially especially the people that are in, like, section 9 of 10 to try to get on an airplane, like, and they're just standing in line in the way. Like, I've never understood that.
Yeah. I don't like those people who try and cut the line on their not in their zone or stuff like that.
Yeah, whatever it is. I mean, it's like they're in zone 38, and they haven't even started doing pre-boards yet, and someone's standing in line getting all bent out of shape. But how long it's taking to board the plane?
That's awesome.
Yeah, I got no patience for that. Like I said, I struggle with patience in general, but that's definitely a pet peeve.
That's awesome. Let's see, if you could take a year off from the tour and you wanted to go teach somewhere, what would you teach?
I don't know. I think I work a lot with. I do lots of college golf fellowships and stuff like that. And actually, I got one of my college guys that's just getting ready to start doing some mini tour web.com. He's staying with me in Arizona right now, and just an opportunity, man. I would, kind of help some guys out. I mean, it's a lonely road, and not that I have it all figured out, but be able to come alongside them and, play and practice with them, work out with them, and try to help out. So I don't know, work with some of the guys in college golf fellowship, or work with some college teams or something like that. I don't necessarily, the recruiting aspect of that sounds terrible, but be able to get some guys and, because that's kind of a vulnerable part of their life, and be able to have some kind of positive influence and, kind of give them a fresh perspective as far as what, like, this is what professional golf looks like, and this is what it takes, and so on and so forth. And kind of give them a dose of reality, not necessarily like they're not as good as they think they are, but just give them a fresh perspective of, like, we're not perfect here.
Sure.
And the faster that they can understand that, the better off they'll be.
Yeah. Well, you, that sounds great. And actually, I know you're heavily involved with the Tennessee Golf Association doing their Junior Cup. So I'm going to put a link to that in the show notes of this episode.
Yeah, we actually just finished our first year of the Kids Play Free program in Knoxville. So the Junior Cup is kind of like upper echelon junior players, 28 kids, 14 on each team, 10 boys and 4 girls. And we basically divide Tennessee by I-65. And we just had our 7th year. We do it at the Grove in Nashville, and kind of like a Junior Ryder Cup at the very end of their golf season. And then we started Kids Play Free in Knoxville, which we've had we have 2 par 3 courses, Beverly Park and Concord, which provided free golf for juniors in the city of Knoxville 365 days a year. And
wow, that's awesome.
The most kids we've had sign up in a year is roughly, I think it was 78, and this year we had almost 2,400 play.
That's fantastic.
So, like, you're talking about first time on the golf course. So just trying to figure out ways to incite people to get on the golf course and so on and so forth. We've got some great partners with the Tennessee Golf Association and the Golf House in Nashville, and I look forward to continue trying to helping that out.
Well, we'll definitely plug that and get people aware of it, and reach out to Tennessee Golf Association and let them know that you were here at the Back of the Range. Well, Scott, I've taken up enough of your time. I know you're kind of getting into the weekend here, and you're going to be able to kind of relax for the off season, get ready for the next calendar year of golf. But I really do appreciate the time. Hopefully we can catch up again next year, and all the best to you during the holidays.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
And there you have it, another great episode here at the Back of the Range. Thank you so much to Scott Stallings for joining us this week. Remember, follow us on Instagram, the Back of the Range Podcast. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Remember, the website, thebackoftherange.com. 2 more episodes this year. We'll see you next week here at the Back of the Range.